Give a man a fish, and you will feed him for a day. Teach a man how to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime. So they say. But what if that man doesn't own a fishing rod? What if that man doesn't have access to a body of water? What if that man is allergic to fish, for God's sake? Popular phrases like this not only perpetuate systemic poverty, but create cognitive distortions across cultures that enable the narrative that people in poverty are choosing to stay in poverty. The problem is, we are trying to find solutions to problems without understanding the problem in the first place. Picture this. Leia, a single mom of 4, applies for benefits at a human services agency. The requirement to access benefits is for her to attend a financial education class on budgeting. So the next day, Leia gets off from work, picks up her kids, and arrives to the agency, still smelling like fried food from work, a little disheveled, but wrangles her kids out of the car, into the dinner line, and drops the kids on the on-site childcare. They thought of everything, right? Evening session for those who work, dinner, on-site childcare, the fishing class, the fishing pole, the whole 9 yards. After the class, Leia starts to gather her things, trying to find space in her purse for the budgeting materials they distributed. Things are falling everywhere. She grabs everything, dumps it into the stroller, and starts to head out. When the facilitator approaches her, "Did you like the budgeting class?" Listen, I appreciate what you're trying to do here. I really do. But I'm only here because this is a requirement. I already know how to budget. I feed a family of 5 every week with $50. I guess they didn't think of everything. Nobody understands budgeting skills better than a single mom trying to feed her kids. But it doesn't end there. She says, "I don't need to learn how to budget. What I need to learn is how to build wealth for my family." Do you hear that? Do you feel that? How are we going to design programs that successfully help families experiencing poverty if we are not listening? We need to gather participant-centered insights and embed them into our learning programs. Although some say it's not about learning, it's about how hard you work, because hard work pays off, right? Hey, I am living proof that hard work pays off. I worked really hard to be where I am today. From domestic violence survivor, to homeless, to college professor, consultant, county commissioner, and now executive director at the Prosperity Agenda. The American dream, some call it. But at what price? Do you know what my son's first word was? You don't know? Me neither. My kids were raised by the TV, family members, random babysitters. what I wouldn't give to have seen their first steps. But I was working 3 jobs and going to school. Let me ask you this. Is it wrong for a single mom to want to continue to receive your agency's benefits and be there for her kids? What is more valuable? Quality time with family or career and financial success? Which mom made the right choice? The absent mom with the 3 jobs? Or the present mom tending to the 2 a.m. night fever herself? There is no right or wrong answer. But it's time that we stop imposing our definitions of prosperity onto the families we serve. Coach them towards their own pathway to prosperity. Asking powerful questions about their values and put them back in the driver's seat of their own lives. Perhaps we need to walk a mile in their shoes. In fact, the Journal for Social Work published research that states that the voice and perspective of people with lived experience is essential for social work practice. But a word of caution, not everybody's experience is the same. I may be able to understand the struggles of single parenting, but I cannot possibly even imagine or begin to understand what it feels like to be navigating the complexities of overcoming substance abuse while raising kids. No idea. Everyone's journey is different. We can't walk a mile in their shoes, but we can lean in and listen. But to truly listen, we need to let go of these cookie-cutter approaches, expecting people to grab what we have to offer and pull themselves up by their bootstraps. I'm going to tell you the story about how I did not pull myself up by my bootstraps. On February 11 of 2013, I drove 8 hours from Georgia to Kentucky. It was the only way to end a cycle of domestic violence once and for all. I grabbed what I could, put my kids in the car, and I just started driving. Thanks to my dad, who didn't let me move to Georgia without a car. My sister had a friend who worked at a shelter. She made a couple of phone calls, and her friend got us a room at the shelter. It was dark, and it smelled like bleach and fabuloso mixed with pee. It didn't have a door, but it had 2 beds, and it was safe. I didn't sleep that night. I was 7 months pregnant, single mom of 2, soon to be 3, with nothing but a car and some clothes. I didn't know what to do. But a few years before that, I had a coach. I stopped seeing her because my husband didn't like her. Go figure. And at that moment, I remembered something she used to say when I felt like I was running out of options. What do you have? Who do you know? What can you do? Powerful questions always stay with people. So the next morning, I drove to the library and started sending out resumes. And soon, I started to get job interviews. And that's when it dawned on me. I was undeniably pregnant. I mean, like, really pregnant, and I didn't have anything to wear. But the case manager at the shelter gave me the number of this place that had professional clothes. I called and made an appointment, and the worker there helped me pick 3 outfits that were, kind of would help to simulate or hide the pregnancy, make it less obvious. And it was all free. And shortly after, I got a job offer. So me and my 3 work outfits were ready to go to work. On the first day at the job, I'm sitting at the HR's office submitting the required paperwork when the HR specialist asked the question, "You forgot your address. What's your home address?" What is the home address of a person that lives in a shelter? I broke down in tears, and I started to tell my story, including the fact that I was pregnant and they may not know it, to this HR specialist whom I have just met. She left the room, and I'm thinking to myself, I am back to square one. But that was not the case. The HR specialist came back to the office with the HR director, who asked me to grab my things at the shelter because they were going to treat my employment offer as a relocation. Me and my kids were placed at the Marriott Residence Inn that same night. The company paid for the first month of rent and furniture. And now I work to equip agencies with participant-centered approaches and family-centered coaching for them to provide sustainable and equitable human services. And that's the story of how I did not pull myself up by my bootstraps. Do you know how hard it is to buy a car in this country without credit? Do you have any idea how impossible it is to find same-day shelter for a person, let alone a mom with kids? Nobody hires a pregnant person. No one. And you can't show up to an interview wearing jeans and a tank top, unless you're Will Smith in The Pursuit of Happiness. So no, I did not pull myself up by my bootstraps. My dad pulled on my bootstraps. My sister and her friend pulled on my bootstraps. My coach, the case manager, the HR specialist, the HR director, my employer, the Center for Women's and Families, Dress for Success, the Louisville Free Public Library, they all pulled on my bootstraps with me. Because prosperity, I want you to hear this, prosperity does not happen in a silo. Systemic barriers like the ones I faced, and so many more, are keeping people in poverty. We need to truly mobilize our collective power. We must forget what we think we know about poverty and build a community of support where the people experiencing poverty are the ones calling the shots. The truth is, we can't change the system overnight. It'll take time, and it'll take all of us. But there is one thing we can do now. We can gather together around people in poverty and empower them to find their own pathway to prosperity in spite of the system. Thank you.